It's my pleasure to introduce Seth Berman, who's one of our senior development staff with instantiations. He's been with us a couple of years, has 12 plus years of experience, which he fears isn't enough to talk to people with the gray hair that some people in this room have. But Seth has had a huge impact on our engineering team since he joined us, and I'm sure his presentation will be scintillating. I'm off.
Okay. Well, so yeah, what I'm going to talk to you about today is kind of our new, John touched on it, our new modernized text editor. So we're going for a complete replacement of our source code editor. And so before, most of this is going to be just a live demo. That's how I tend to do these. A lot of them are just kind of visual. So I'm going to walk through, kind of go slide by slide, and then switch on over to another workspace where we can actually do it live. But just for the first couple of slides, I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of background about what we were going for and why we made these decisions. So kind of in terms of requirements, there's kind of a very basic one, which was that we needed to move forward with our text editors. Kind of our existing editors were based on the Windows kind of common control, and then, or the Windows text edit control, and on the Unix systems, it's native control. And so, we were able to do things like syntax color highlighting and some other things, but then we started weighing, well, we want to start doing a lot of other stylizations, how much, what kind of technologies can we leverage to help us do this, or how much do we want to do ourselves? So there was a lot of trade-offs that were involved. So and another goal was whatever we're going to do, we want to minimize the change to the system that we have, because we have a very mature, stable system. Whatever we do, we want it to be exciting and new, but we don't want to do it in a way that breaks all of our customers' code. And so we were definitely going for full API compatibility with our new editor, with our legacy editors, as well as structural compatibility. So we do have this common widget framework and expectations of the framework about how widgets within it perform and do their behavior. And so we wanted to be sure that we could accommodate that. And finally, whatever we did, we wanted to make sure our customers had the ability to use this in their applications. And so we wanted to be very intentional about how we package this up and make it accessible. So this kind of leads us to Scintilla. It was something that kept popping up. It's actually all over the place if you just know where to look. Dolphin, as far as Smalltalk, Dolphin Smalltalk is in there. But there's all these just random places. I mean, there's just tons of projects that use it. I've listed some, the second to last bullet, where I was just like, oh, I've used those before. I know Pad++, Code Blocks ID, some of these, like, oh, okay, that's their editor component that they write off of. And so Scintilla is this free library that provides functionality for helping to build text editors. But it's specifically designed in terms of its feature set to help with source code editing. And so that happens to be perfect for our situation. But it's not really new. It's been around since '99. And so that's 14 years. And so that's really actually good, because we did want something that was stable and that had, that was mature. As a vendor, we don't want to put in something that's, highly experimental, and we're just, we need something stable. So it's got a very active community. And even though it's been around for a while, it's very active in terms of its release schedule and features. And this is very important. It's not just, in one place. As a matter of fact, they just did a latest release just a couple weeks ago, and I went and updated our API, and so now, so it's very, very active. And finally, even though this first round we're focusing on Windows, we did want to make sure that whatever we did accommodated cross-platform support, because as John had mentioned, we've got this move towards GTK, and we wanted to make sure that we just didn't tie ourselves down to Windows. And so Scintilla has GTK wrappers, Qt wrappers, tons of wrappers. They don't have an xlib wrapper, and I'm not sure we want to do it anyway, because that's currently our Unix UI, Unix Linux UI. future, because when we interoperate with it, it's at a platform independent level. So actually, none of our code really changes as we switch between various operating systems. So I just want to talk about how we integrated it. We've kind of got this common widgets framework, we call it, and kind of a motif-like specification to the framework. And so we've integrated a new widget called CW Scintilla Editor, and it is fully API compatible with our existing CW Text legacy editor. We offer full API support for the latest Scintilla that just came out. And then we've got this compatibility layer so that it's basically, you can use it as a drop-in replacement for your existing CW text-based widgets. Just put it right in and it should work. So before I get to some of the features, I just want to kind of show what it looks like in its vanilla form. So what I'm going to do is just give a real brief demo here. So this is kind of showing in our environment, the common widgets. I'm going to create a shell. I'm going to stick a form in it. I'm going to stick our Scintilla editor and attach it to the form. And then I'm going to show it. And so if I do that, so here it is. It's what it is inside. The only real difference you should see is you'll see this kind of, I can't tell if the contrast there is going to show it, but there's kind of this margin on the left side that's slightly different colored. You can just kind of see it there. But and anyway, that's a margin area that Scintilla has. You can hide it. In fact, when we customize it in our development environment, we hide it in certain places and show it in others. But this is what it looks like in its vanilla form. And then what I'm going to show you is just kind of how we packaged it, because I said it was important that we want to be able to have our customers get access at this. So this is a class browser on the new editor widget. And you'll see over here in our categories, we've kind of categorized the complete API capability of Scintilla. And so you can get access at all this behavior. And basically you see here, so we have things for search and selection, folding, call tips, race highlighting, auto-completion. These are all APIs that you can work with. And then we have our CW layer. This is the compatibility layer to make sure that it can serve as a drop-in replacement for our existing CW text. So now I'll get back to the kind of the features, and this is where I'm going to start flipping back and forth a little bit. So kind of the first thing we wanted to take advantage of was direct write, which is direct 2D, direct writes on top of the layer on top. This is a newer technology. It's one of Microsoft's technology to provide higher level font rendering. It achieves this by hardware acceleration, so it offloads a lot of the drawing to the graphics cards. And it's not necessarily faster. I mean, that's originally when I was researching this, I was like, so what does that mean? It draws faster? I don't really care. But no, it's not that at all. Actually, it does a lot more rendering effects, anti-aliasing, makes a lot smoother looking fonts. It is a newer technology, so it's going to be Windows 7 and above. Even though technically speaking, I think Vista Service Pack 2 provides it, but we don't check that. And then the big question is, how noticeable a difference will it be? And of course, this is basically the answer is it depends. And it's going to be dependent on your monitor type. Maybe on a screen like this with the current resolution, you maybe sort of can tell a difference, but it really just depends. It also depends on you, your eyesight, and I guess your attention to detail to a certain extent. And so what I'm going to do, and we'll see if it does it justice, because this is one of the fonts, which is the basic Windows system font, and it's a bitmap font, so it doesn't really style at all. But so the interesting thing about this one is when we turn on direct write, which I'm about to do, direct write renders it completely differently. And so this isn't the case for most. You'll just see minor differences. So let me go ahead and get that to this here. I'll flip on direct writes. So it's just different. This is most of them won't be this dramatic, but all of a sudden our basic blocky font becomes kind of a nice font to work with. And so, and if you use other fonts, you'll just see a lot of the jaggings go away. Internationalization, we kind of have this support already in our legacy editor, but we do offer support for double byte, so there's Japanese, Chinese, Korean double byte character sets. We also will catch and handle events for IME, which is input method editors, little pop-ups used to assist for typing in languages that have many, many, many characters, more than that would fit on a standard keyboard. So we now work with that. So now I'm going to begin to show how we've customized Scintilla, this new Scintilla editor, into our development environment. And so I'm just going to kind of show some very, just some slight minor differences to what our current text editor, how that currently behaves with current text editor. So I'll just open a hierarchy browser here. Can everybody see the size, or do I need to, maybe I'll just flip it up just a little bit, just to make sure that you can all see it. I'll also switch to a fixed width font, one that I usually use to develop it. Let's try, so it might be unusually big, but I think it'll help with some of the visual effects I'll show. Okay. So some of the, we had auto indent before, but when the text was really big, you could actually visually see it, insert the character turn, and then indent. And so we've actually re-implemented the auto indent. It's a lot quicker now. We use more of the Scintilla-based eventing that it offers us, so we can do it at better times that don't keep the refresh where you can't visually see it. So that's just, it's just faster. Do some keyboard shortcuts. So what we can do is we can take actual blocks of text, and we can do Alt-Up and kind of shift it around. We can also drag and drop that, so you can just take it and kind of say, oh, well, I want to move that there. And so, just a few little tweaks. A margin area, so now we're offering this margin area, which you probably can't see, but there's one there's one on the side there. And you can have, Scintilla will let you have up to 5 margin areas, so I'll show you how we use some of these. And we left some empty for some future use cases. Multiple undo read. For me, this was huge, even though it's seemingly minor, but I was just really happy about being able to have this finally. So everything that we just did in here, I'll just kind of undo, and then we do it back. So, there's no hard limit on this other than physical memory. And so Scintilla supports coalescing, so it's not going to do it at the character level, which, so if you type a word and you did undo, it's not going to do it one character at a time. It tries to choose sensible boundaries. And more importantly, there's also an API so that we can hook into it. So if we are doing certain actions that we're going to insert text in various areas and we want to call that one atomic operation, we can actually define that and use that API from Scintilla. Code completion. So Scintilla offers code completion pop-up and API. Of course, it doesn't do any of the code completion engine stuff, but we already kind of do that. We've already built our own pop-ups, but thought, hey, we'll make use of it. So I'll show you. Let's see what it's here. So if I do it here, kind of see this, at least on Windows 7, it'll be this, this kind of pop-up that's kind of rounded borders, and you can kind of resize it. It handles the, putting a little trailing continuation characters. So, I mean, it just hooks into our existing engine. And so, if I wanted to order collection, order, it's the camel case matcher, then you can do that kind of stuff. And so, I'm still in the middle of completing some of these, so we won't see a lot of settings that I'll show you, but basically the idea is we'll still offer our previous pop-ups. We like those. There's some different styling capabilities we have in some of the others because we actually have a lot of control over how it styles. And so in Scintilla we lose a little bit of control, but you'll be able to have your choice. So syntax color highlighting, this is kind of a big piece. So basically the idea is that Scintilla offers what they call lexer, which defines how specified ranges of text are to be colored. And so Scintilla itself has support for 80+ languages, which means we have support of 80+ languages. Smalltalk is one of them, of course, but it was a little bit too simplistic for us to use because we already have color settings, and we expect to be able to color temps and args, and that implies that we need to track state, since those guys are up at the top. And so just to say I need you to style from here to here is not good enough, for us just to consider that one. And so the nice thing is that Scintilla gives us the opportunity to take control inside our Smalltalk code to be able to define how to do this lexing. And so we say, hey, Scintilla, I'm telling you, I want to handle the lexing, so you just send me the events where you want me to style things and when, and then I'll tell you how to style it. And so Scintilla handles a lot of the issues by saying it considers what's your visual area, and then it says, okay, I'm ready for you to style from 50 to 92. And then once you're scrolling up and down and it completes everything, it'll never send any more events until you enter another character, and then that invalidates certain areas. The bottom line is we don't care about any of that because it handles all of it. All we care about is receiving these events saying style from here to here, and we figure out how to do it. So we want to do some special stuff for styling, so it comes in two flavors. We've got a method styler, which is going to be on our browsers and buggers and expects to be styling against methods, where there's a method signature at the top and you work your way down. And then we have a newer snippet styler, which is going to run in inspectors and workspaces. So this now means that we colorize our inspector and workspaces, which we never did before. And so this is, we add some fuzzy logic rules to this, and that's because you don't have well-formed methods that you're working with. You just have little chunks, and people don't always put periods at the end when they're ready to start the next one. And so we got to start analyzing the source and the formatting and trying to come up and trying to safely say, okay, I think you're starting a new section, so I'm going to kind of reset my coloring state. And so let me just give you some examples of this. So here's, and another thing I should mention is, unlike before, we would just get every 1 second or so, it would try to build a parse tree. And if it was successful, then it would be able to successfully style your method or whatever. We don't do that anymore. So we do it real time now, and we built our own custom scanner. So we actually use a token scanner, and we built this lightweight parser on top of it. And so what happens is now it's just you get immediate feedback. So here I'll just get rid of this this colon character here, and it's just, and I guess we're foreshadowing our indicators, but we'll get to that later. And so go that, and it's back. Go do this one. And now it just doesn't care as much about where you're putting things because it's not used. It doesn't need a parse tree to do things. So I can start putting in arrays, and it'll color an array there, and then here's a string, and then here's some numbers, and then here's a comment, and then it just really it doesn't really care as much, and so it's able to kind of figure stuff out a little bit better. And let me go ahead and show what it looks like in an inspector. In fact, I'll show you an inspector and a debugger since that's kind of the deal. So there it's coloring in a debugger, but up here now there's really two new things. This is now in color. I think you can see the color there. So here's an array, and here's, let's try. Okay, so that's the other thing now, code completion also in this area. And so now we have color up there and color down there, so we get lots more color going on. Next is, I originally called it brace highlighting because that's what it's traditionally called, but I think in this, audience, maybe I call it bracket highlighting because maybe that's a little safer to use and makes more sense. So this is basically, I think you saw some of this just as you hover the cursor over various tokens like pervens and blocks that will in fact highlight those. And then of course if I have here, it says I can't find a matching one, so now you get this unmatched stylization as opposed to the matched stylization. Right now these are hard-coded, but the idea is to open up the settings so that you can decide for yourself what you want these colors are, and we'll offer a default. And just let me show you, just want to make sure that folks understand that we actually still support, this is back to color, we still support all the color options that we supported in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and configure the color. So the previous one did this, and just want to make sure we'll run through a few kind of color themes here. So you can see everything kind of changing.
See green screen.
The green screen. So yeah, so all this stuff is still supported.
Christmas.
And now we even have new stylizations that weren't supported. Is that what I left off? That's not what I
Figured it over.
That joke's been there for like 15 years now.
Yes.
Okay, so that's bracket highlighting. So that's a new guy. Smart highlighting, I really like this one. Maybe goes under my favorite feature list. So this is, I think this is in Pharaoh's Squeak, but it's also in, it's in Eclipse, and that means possibly Visual Studios, I think. It's basically the idea that you double click something and it'll show stylization on that particular word, and then any word matching that, it will style slightly differently, but show you quickly the matches. And so this is easier just to show really than describe. So let me just move over to collection. All right, so let me just, so you say, I want to know where the block or a block is used. And, oh, maybe I think I disabled it. Okay, so back to this one's fine. So where is the widget used? So here we see, one stylization there, and then everywhere else you can kind of see it slightly. I think for this one I just changed the alpha, just changed a little bit. But when we have our settings in, you'll have two different styles, so you can decide what you want them to be. And I tweaked the algorithm just a little bit because I wanted to be able to match block locals, and the deal is when you double click a block local, it's going to include the colon, but really what you're probably after is you're looking for all uses of that, and that's going to be without the colon. So if I go to go back to collection, it's working. Let's go to something like, all right, so elements. So if I double click element, it's going to find element, the one that you're probably after. And if you went the other way, same thing. It's going Nope, nope, it's not doing any of that. No, we don't do that, it doesn't consider scope. So this is just strictly a simple match. Yep. And this comes kind of useful, handy. This was actually an unintended consequence, but I kind of liked it, which was in our senders and implementers. Now you'll actually see all the matches. This is there's only one use of these, but something like that. Show it. Well, I think you get the idea is that if there were more than one uses in here, okay, there was one, then now you're seeing all of them. You don't have to go here and click again to see the right one. So it's just something I discovered, which is cool. That's smart highlighting. Code folding. So this is still in a state of not ready yet, and I'm not sure if I want it to be ready yet. So I'm still kind of debating this one. The only one I'm showing here is the only use case I think is actually kind of useful, which is collapsing comments. As far as collapsing blocks, I didn't think we had another developer actually implemented this, and I kept trying it out, and I just wasn't very happy with it. I just didn't think it was very useful. So I don't like putting things in just for the sake of putting them in. So we're still kind of going back and forth on this. But I hope, if anything, I think the comment folding would be useful. So that's kind of an example there. Line numbers. So we have line number support. This is another margin type. And the only thing, I guess, here that, I kind of show it real quick. I put these, somebody put these settings in some random place, so I have to go first. This is not where it's going to be when the release comes out. This is because of our debugging, so I guess somebody just stuck them here. All right, so we got line number, and then the only kind of tweak that we made was, which is it's small nothing, but it was kind of interesting, was we're going to get the callbacks so that, because the objective is to keep the margin as small as possible. So on something big like this, which is like many thousands of lines, as we go, it jumps to the next digit. It's going to dynamically size. You can see there it was. So then as we go back down, you can see it changing.
Are they displayed when there's a code compare, like if you're comparing to a different version or a method, you want to see the differences? Do you echo the line numbers? Or is that just for display within the editor?
For just display, yeah, in the editor. And the one thing I think is important here is that when we get the settings, which I don't show today, but it's going to be backed by browser type, because I think in a workspace, maybe would like line numbers, but something like an inspector or possibly your browser, you may not be so interested in really seeing.
So with your line numbers, the text inside moves over as the size of the...
Yes.
That seems kind of bad in some situation.
Which text? Are you talking about the text in the margin?
No, the margin's here, you got text, and as I get to a lot more digits, suddenly it moves over a character. And that's kind of just in the transition. Well, okay, but what so you're saying that the lines with the shorter and the longer are also indented the same amount after the transition?
If you have line 90 at the top of the screen and line 125 on the screen, you're going to be using 3 columns.
Well, no.
Yeah,
What I care about is whether the lines line up.
Yeah.
The margin is...
It gets bumped now.
So the whole margin goes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be pretty rare. It's really pragmas, where you've got thousands of lines.
Well, just going from 9 to 10, though.
No. It's that one's static. It doesn't. We don't go from 1 to. On that one, it doesn't change when going from 9 to 10. It's already 2 columns.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really going from 99 to 100, 999 to 1,000. Okay. Breakpoint management. So we have our new breakpoint margin. ones. And I'll just show you some of the stylizations that we can do. And we're just kind of getting started on this one. So I think we've got some plans to move this forward as well. So let me go ahead and get rid of the line numbers here. And we'll do, let's find one where we can put multiple. So let's see. So all I'll do is just do a break here. We've got our one shot, a regular break. So you see new icon. There's the breakpoint margin. You can you see this? Yeah, you can actually see it better. So you see the stylization there. And so if I go ahead and take this and let me go ahead and deactivate this, then it turns yellow. It's going to turn gray if I turn breakpoints, disable all breakpoints. And then if I go ahead and activate this one, I'll put one here. Another one here. Another
This is
one.
when you have really bad code.
And then, if you deactivate
Not
the
very
one,
well formatted either.
I don't know if you can see it, but so one's deactive and the other's, in fact, the yellow is not showing through at all. And that probably won't be the color for that reason. But that's an orange breakpoint. This. So that's breakpoint management. Okay, debugger call tips. So this is when when you're in the debugger, you hover your mouse over a variable or a global of some sort. You'll get a little pop-up that says, this is what this is. And then you may click on that pop-up, which will bring up an inspector. And basically that line right there, that red box doesn't actually show. That's me showing you that we've got this region where you can move your mouse anywhere within that region. And as long as it's in there, the call tip stays up. You move out of that, the call tip closes. So it gives a nice little usability. Because we do that because you got to get your mouse from where it was to the call tip. And so this gives you the ability to do that. But any further or in a different direction, then it hides itself. So let me go. I'll just do a collection with all. I don't know what the chances of that. Yeah, I guess it works.
All part of the demo.
Yeah, that was planned. All right, so we go to debug. And we go in here. Let's look at new elements. 1, 2, 3. Okay. There's an inspector. So you can see that, hover over it, and I can kind of be anywhere in here, but I kind of go any further, and it keeps itself out.
So in other words, if the whatever's being displayed as the tip is larger than can be displayed in the available area, you can click on it and you can get an inspector on it.
Yes, so we have a formatted. If you just put it over a 5,000 character string,
Yeah.
it's going to format it. It's going to show the ... So I think it's 40 characters, and then you can click on it and see the whole thing.
If you're debugging a print-on method and you hover over some, what?
Now the question is, you hover over a debug print string. So let's see.
Is that feature as a result of the Scintilla? or-
Yeah, I mean, Scintilla helps with because it has the call tips and it also has the eventing that helps us with this. This is the kind of, we could have done separately, but we're using the API. And kind of the last big piece I want to show is our error warning info indicators. This is the squigglies. I think you saw some of this already. In fact, there's one on this page. And so the idea is that we wanted to be able to show fatal errors, warnings, and info. And And so call tips, as you hover your mouse over it, will show information about it. And we also implemented a incremental compiler that kind of runs while you type. I'm still in the middle of this feature, so it does work, but usability-wise, I'm still figuring some stuff out. But, so let me just show you a little bit about how that works. So let's say here, all right, so this is an unimplemented method, so we get a kind of a purple, what's the purple squiggly? If I do, let's try, element. So I'll just change element to S. Okay, so it identifies that this is undefined. If I save it, flashes, and you see that brings you right to it. And the question is, I'm up here, and then I save, it brings you down to the first one that's keeping you from saving this method.
Does it prevent you from saving the method?
Yeah, I just did. I just pressed save.
So it's not saved
It's not saved
because of the.
because of that. Fixing.
Right, but it means there is a compiler, so you can't save anyway.
Right. As opposed to a warning, like this will be an error.
This is an error.
But you can save with things that you would consider warnings.
So for example, yes, and in fact that purple one, which is an error, but it's not a fatal error, which was the unimplemented method,
Used, yeah.
I can save that.
Right.
It's not going to stop me there.
Does the unimplemented method have some scope sensitivity? So self, food, if it's not implemented on self, would be understood?
Not at the moment. And so basically, yeah, we got the incremental compiler, and it draws from two sources, and it's kind of interesting, the second one. First is parse trees. It tries to build a full parse tree. If it doesn't, it uses the same one the code completion guy uses, which is a modified parse tree that tries to be a little better about building one. And then if that doesn't work, it uses the styler, actually our color syntax styler, because Scintilla itself actually holds on to the syntactical state of all these things. So when we decorate all the tokens, we're decorating them with styles called open bar and closed bar and temp declaration and temp reference. So we can actually reflect on the document itself to actually give this information. And that was derived from the scanner that was run at that time. So I think that's about it. This will be our default editor in our upcoming release. We're just really getting started here. Primarily, this was, some of these features that came in, we're proud of that, but this is really about getting it safely into our environment and being able to have our customers make use of it. So we're really excited about the future stuff that will happen. Any questions?
So what was the time frame you said this morning, John? The next release?
Third quarter.
Third quarter.